That's what we in the business call a ghetto blaster, otherwise known as Soundwave. Although being a true evil Decepticon, instead of playing cassettes in this game, he plays illegally downloaded music files.
Get ready to crumble before rumble!
Ugh, these little guys are so annoying!
First we crack the shell, then we crack the nuts inside!
Dare to be stupid? I think not. This is Transformers War for Cybertron. A game that's taken me by complete surprise, because if you've watched this show before, you know I'm a huge fan of Transformers, old school 1980s Transformers. So first of all, I can't believe this game was made at all, because this has far more in common with the 1980s cartoons, the comic books, and Transformers the movie, the 1987 animated film, than the newer live-action Transformers films, which are entertaining enough, but...
Wheat, Progna, wheat, ninny bomb. What was that? That's the universal greeting. I don't think it worked.
We have nothing to fear, Autobots. The slugs will count us as friends.
If you grew up with Generation 1 Transformers, the comic books, cartoons, and toys, blow the new movies away. This game is like the best of both worlds, though. It has the same kind of production value that we would expect for a big-budget Transformers video game or movie these days, combined with the old-school Transformers. If you remember later in the cartoon series when most of the action was taking place on Cybertron, or if you're familiar with Transformers the movie, you'll immediately fall in love with this game. Because this game takes place prior to the Transformers landing on Earth. Because there was civil war on Cybertron, no doubt instigated by the producers of the TV show. Because frankly, it would have been boring if they all got along. Now, you don't have to be an old-school Transformers fan to enjoy Transformers War for Cybertron, which brings me to the second reason I'm surprised. In the shadow of the new movies, we just happened to get a Transformers game based on Cybertron that also happens to be one of the best action games of 2010. This has very little in common with 2009's video game Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. It's a completely different game. Now, that game was fun because it was Transformers and it was well made, but the missions were a bit bland, and multiplayer wasn't that great. If Transformers Revenge of the Fallen was Bumblebee, Transformers War for Cybertron is Unicron. Now, I know there's many of you that just simply don't get that reference, and you probably grew up after Transformers, the movie, the 1987 animated film. Now's the time to watch it because you'll appreciate how much the developers of this game love Transformers. They just love the whole Cybertron thing. I think that you can clearly tell they get it. Completely unexpected, because I always felt that the whole Cybertron part of the Transformers story was never really all that well represented. The only possible downside I can really point at with this game is that it has the same problem that the cartoons did back in the day, which is when they get to Cybertron, everything pretty much looks the same, because it's one big mechanical moving planet. So while there's an immense amount of detail and things constantly moving and rotating and grinding and sparking in every part of the screen, after a while, it just all blends together. That's not the fault of the designers. That's actually true to the original representation of Cybertron from the cartoons and Transformers the movie. But as I said, unless you're the GoBots, you don't even have to like Transformers to enjoy this game. All you have to do is like a good action game. One that has an immense campaign mode, complete with 5 Decepticon and 5 Autobot missions, which are lengthy, to say the least. You can play with up to 2 of your friends online, making a total 3-person co-op game. And there's an all-new multiplayer mode and survival mode, which I'll cover in part 2 of the review.
Ratchet, but be aware. It looks as though the next wave...
Now, watching this on screen, I think that Transformers War for Cybertron speaks for itself. We're watching the Xbox 360 version. If I had to describe this to someone, I think that it reminds me of Gears of War 2 mixed with Transformers, except without the reliance on the whole duck and cover system. Because why would you duck and cover when you can just transform into a tank? This is also much harder than the previous Transformers game. About halfway through each of the campaigns, the enemies start to put up one hell of a fight, and if you're heavy on the trigger, you'll be constantly running out of ammunition.
On your own, Sideswipe. No one will miss you.
Just ask.
The control room is just up ahead.
In terms of gameplay, Transformers War for Cybertron doesn't do anything that you haven't seen before. However, everything that it does well, and it does it with Transformers. And cool ones that you probably aren't even expecting to see in a video game.
Systems weak. Repairs required.
This is also on PlayStation 3 and PC, and other versions of the game are available for Nintendo DS and Wii. I'll see you back here in part 2 of the review. Transformers War for Cybertron. This game has got the touch.
Me from the foul influence.
Destroy them, you fool!